Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yes, boys and girls, welcome back to the Longside YouTube channel. And we've got a big preview for today. The game that we kind of are looking forward to, but also despising at the same time. It's City. Again. Anyway, Stephen, of course, one of the most highly respected Manchester City creators and a person that I've been looking forward to talking to for a long time now. I just kind of wish that it was next year, in Premier League, and not when we're one game away from Wembley for the first time in God knows how many years. I think 2 decades now since we've been in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. So
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault, but you will have to take the blunt of the blame from Burnley fans for today. So, just first things first. How you doing, my friend? I know that you're a father recently, so I know that it's been
tired
you,
is the honest answer. Fucking hell. The lack of sleep. He's not my little lad's. He's waking up every half an hour at night because of sleep progression. It's painful. But football's a lovely little bit of escapism, and I'm looking forward to this game. And by the way, as much as I'm joking, then I'm genuinely. I know we chatted on my channel, but I am genuinely a little bit nervous about this game just because football loves stories.
Don't even try to give me some hope.
No, I think City will go. I think City will win. I do think we'll win. But I don't think it's. I think there's a potential sting tail, and it's just because of Vincent Kompany. Vincent Kompany is a man that stories are built around. Some people are so magnetic and so charismatic and so wonderful that they do things that others just can't. That's what scares me because he's that kind of guy. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think it's likely, very likely, but I think City will take you very seriously for good reason.
And I hope they do. I hope that we can use this as a great platform to showcase what Burnley can do. And, of course, how well we've been this year in such a short space of time. And the style of football that we can do in the Championship is all well and good. But you want to see how you can do against true, and in your case, elite opposition. And, we will be a Premier League side next year. And what a great chance to really show and get almost like a testing exercise to see how can we take on Premier League teams. And that's what I'm most looking forward to see how we can adapt our style of play. So I guess from a Man City fan perspective, as we're on a Burnley fan channel, from your guys' side of things, have you kept an eye on Burnley since Kompany's been in charge?
Yes. I've not been watching the games, if that makes sense. Just too busy doing the City stuff. But I've caught loads of highlights and generally just following it because it's hard not to. There's an obvious overlap, and I follow so many Man City fans on Twitter. There's loads that are constantly tweeting about Vinny, and of course I'm inherently interested as well. I will be checking every now and then for Burnley scores because we've got City lads on loan there as well, and because literally, look, I've fucking named my channel after him. Many years ago. I love the man so much. Exactly, which is in Esteemed Kompany, which is a terrible pun, but it's for all football. I hate that name. I've stuck with it. It's an old football Twitter name, but either way, I love the man. I do, and I've been paying attention to Burnley because I want him to be Manchester City's future one day. I don't want to take him away from Burnley too soon, but I want him to be as good as we hope he could be because he's a man of such class and such elegance that if he's as good as he could be and his football's as good as it could be, that there's nothing better for me than him coming back home one day and being a Manchester City manager. And I'm not trying to take him away before he's even become a Burnley legend.
Give us a chance with it.
Yeah. But I can't. From my perspective, I can't help but imagine that future. So I have been paying attention to him and what he's done at Burnley. It's fucking remarkable. We were chatting at length on my channel, and that's the best way I can put it. To change your whole identity as a club. To make you from this team, he's gone from both sides, one side of the spectrum right to the other, and he's changed you that quickly, and that isn't easy to do, and it isn't easy to do at a level as high as the Championship. And I do think the Championship is one of the toughest leagues in world football, and I think I've been paying attention because I want him to do well because one, he's great, and two, because I want to see if one day hopefully he could maybe be potential returning son.
And as we spoke earlier, that's what football's all about, that dream, that storyline, that narrative. Without that sort of beautiful storyline to it, then what is football about? You want poetry in the sport, and it's kind of boring if it's kind of just almost engineered and artificial. It's you want things to be sporadic and unpredictable at times. And
City winning trophies with Kompany is potentially, if he came back one day, City winning the Premier League with Vincent Kompany there's the payoff of that, the emotional payoff of that. This is a man, don't forget, that people talk about City's money, but he joined before City were taken over, literally just before it. But the payoff for that would be just insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine many things I would enjoy more. Like, it's Hollywood script writing stuff, and that's why I think it's worth the risk. A lot of City fans are like, "Oh, I don't want him back because what if he's terrible for us and he doesn't work?" And then I was like, "Well, I wouldn't change my opinion on him. He's still Vincent Kompany. Like, there's
still a statue outside the ground.
Yeah, exactly, and it's rightfully there. So those stories in football, they are worth the risk potentially. But that's a long way away, man. It's a long way away potentially.
Yeah, I do like to think with Vincent Kompany is kind of the plan with Burnley that I see. He signed a 4 to 5 year deal. I think it's a 5 year deal actually when he first joined. So that's all the way till 2027 potentially. And the way that I see Kompany, I think potentially, we'll go up this year. Obviously, I think we should hopefully be staying up next year comfortably enough, like 13, 14, maybe kind of area, and then hopefully be more established in the third year. And then I think by then 2025, I think maybe that's when he could take that next step up. The thing is with Man City, I think, as Kompany said himself, that the manager of Manchester City should be the best manager in the world. And I think that he knows himself that he has to prove himself to be that man. And I think no matter what he does at Burnley, I don't care if he wins us the FA Cup and then wins us Premier League. I don't think maybe Premier League, but if he gets us,
well, so that'd be pretty impressive, yeah.
Even if he takes us into Europe, for example, I still think that won't be enough for him to prove to himself. I think because he knows City more than anyone else. The standards at City, I think that there'll be a stepping stone club between, if that's overseas, for like a Dortmund, for example. Of course, he speaks multitude of languages, which is remarkable. That I think that could be the project for him. Have you seen Burnley as like a full 90 minutes potentially this year? Like you've seen
no, I haven't.
More than just highlights.
I've just seen loads of the highlights, because it's just easy to sit and watch. And I've not watched the 90 minutes, honestly, just because I've not really had time, because I do City content so much. And becoming a dad, as you said, I tell you, I am not sitting watching more football after I'm trying to sleep if City aren't playing. But I'm very aware. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm very aware of how they play, and I've seen plenty of 8-9 minute highlight packages where you can see the football, man, and some of the stuff it's prototype Man City stuff, man, passing it out from the back, inverted fullbacks.
That was what I was going to say. I was going to say, we like to say as Burnley fans that we play like Man City now. Our style of play, the 2-3-5 formation, the inverted fullbacks, passing out from the back, and being so brave and composing the ball, creating overloads and wide spaces, and like it is, we like to say that it's like watching Man City, and he's taking so many little traits of a Pep Guardiola style of play, and it's another prodigy of what Pep has done to football and another influence onto football. So I was going to say, from you as an actual City fan that you've seen us, from your side of things, who's seen that, do you think that it is similar to City, or are we just kind of overblowing it?
For what I've seen, it is, man. It is. It's obvious, like, I mean, it's with great respect. You can't ask Burnley's players to do what Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan and Bernardo could do identical, because there's a level of technical ability that it's just probably... But he's obviously compromised a little bit, but still the football, it's the same principles. And I think largely, I think football is a lot more simple than people make it out to be. I think anyone can play this way. The results would be different, but everyone can play this way. I'm not saying everyone can do it successfully, but like the fundamentals of what he's doing, they're not insanely complicated. It's just being good at it or not being good at it. So I think like you can do things, and just because you try and play a way and you lose, it doesn't mean you can't play that way. It just means you play that way badly. But you can still have days where you do it well. So I do think, in general, he's right to give it a go, because you don't have to play like Manchester City's level to make this style of football work, because there's many ways to do the same thing quality-wise, and like you don't have to be as good as Manchester City at this kind of football to win the championship, because no one else in the league is as good as Manchester City anyway. So I think Burnley, they've obviously, I think if they try to do it, every week in the Premiership, which I'm sure you will next season, it won't be as easy because the quality is such a step up. But it's still the right thing to do, and it's still the right thing to do for him to play in his image. One thing I forgot to ask you, mate, because obviously you watch Burnley for 90 minutes. Is there any, like, from your perspective, is there any differences? Is there any subtle tweaks that you've noticed from the City style? Like, does he do anything that feels like a very Vincent Kompany iteration?
I don't know. I can't really say, because even though the blueprint is very, very similar because of the quality difference, as you say, with City. You don't really know if that's because he knows that we can't do it, like we can't achieve that level of quality like what City players can. That maybe
Yeah.
that is his own saying on what we are potentially limited on to do different things, or is that because he wants to do what City does, but he knows that we can't do it consistently? So you can't really tell if it is because of company or it's because of the players that we have. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
seeing only like mad links to players like Guerrero at Dortmund, which will never happen. But it's
yeah.
gonna be a
That's
stupid,
crazy.
it's gonna be a silly season this summer for Burnley. We're gonna be seeing players that like you never would imagine being linked to Burnley. You'd be seeing players like, I guarantee at some stage for some reason Eden Hazard will be linked to Burnley. And like David Silva and Leroy Sané because of the links, of course, the City, obviously.
You'll
Belgium,
make one
so
big sign though. You'll get someone who surprises you, I reckon, because he does
there'd
have
be a
that
big player
connection.
that like you'd be like,
Yeah.
why has he took that?
Forest did it, man. Forest. We were saying, we were chatting earlier. Forest got like Kayla Navas and people like that. You know, they got the Atletico Madrid fullback, and like if they can do it, of course Burnley can do it. Why not?
Yeah, I do think that with our board and our recruitment policy, you have to think that they would be very strict in terms of our current policy of recruitment, and that is young players that we can develop and potentially sell on for massive profit, because that's really a natural way to grow your football club. And I think that is something that the club is very strongly, looking overseas. That's something that Burnley fans have been crying out for that for years, about just looking at European markets, because we always got players from Ireland and from League One and Championship every single year. I think we signed like 5 players from Stoke within a space of 2 years. It's just like it was so predictable. So it's exciting to see what may happen next year. And to kick on for the game for tomorrow, when we look at the stats going into it, to give Burnley fans, I'm going to say something here that will give us no hope, and then it's your job to give us some hope as Burnley fans of why maybe we can stand a chance. So to be realistic here, Burnley in the last 5 games at Etihad is 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, 2-0. So that's great.
Well, we can't win 5-0 every week, so there we go. It can't be every time.
The recent one was 2-0, so I guess we've ruined the trend. So at least it's not in a row. City have reached the FA Cup semi-final in the last 4 seasons. City's aggregate against Burnley in the last 8 home matches is 31-2. City have won their last 10 FA Cup home games, scoring an average of 4.1 goals per game. And it's Burnley's little hope. We are currently unbeaten in 18 matches, and our last loss was to the other side, the red side of Manchester, in the Carabao Cup. And I guess maybe some more hope as well. You have got some history. I don't think it's history, but it's one time of losing to Championship opposition in the FA Cup at home, and that's of course Middlesbrough back in 2015. Can it? Yeah. Can lightning strike twice? I don't know. Give us some hope. That's basically what I'm asking.
Well, to be honest, the hope I would say is that City, they just haven't been perfect this year. They haven't. Like by City standards, there has been a bit of a drop off. We are sort of finding form, which isn't great news. But we are finding a little bit of form currently, and obviously 7-0 the other day is pretty decent. Decent, and it's all right. But I don't honestly. I'm not just saying this, but I do think there's the angle, the Vincent Kompany thing, and that is an inherently motivating thing. And City will take this game seriously, but Burnley are going to be absolutely fearless. I mean, you don't have to have Vincent Kompany to get up for a game against Manchester City. It's I'm aware City are, they're a big scalp these days, but Vincent Kompany will be saying to these players, I honestly think he'll be saying, look, we're nearly up in the Premier League. He's not stupid. He won't say it directly because he's not there, but they'll know that they're nearly a Premier League team. But we know but this is almost like an audition for some of these players, isn't it? Saying, look, show us how good you can be against the level of opposition that we want to play regularly against next year. And there is no real higher test for what Burnley want to be than playing Manchester City, because your blueprint as a team and as a Guardiola trained manager in the company is Manchester City. So we know that he's basing his style on what he's learned from Guardiola. So he'll be saying, do it against the team that we want to be, in terms of quality. And to me, it's so little to lose for such a fearless team right now that is inherently, I wouldn't say nerve wracking, because obviously I've got to back my team, but there's an angle there, and Burnley beating Manchester City is an upset. I don't think it's an insane upset. I don't think it is, and because you're the top of the championship table, and City could take their eye off the ball tomorrow. They could do. I hope we don't, but I think they could do because they've got the Champions League draw has happened this morning. We're very much trying to hunt Arsenal down, and a couple of players might come back in who maybe aren't currently in the first team. So there is always a chance that you could do it. And given the football that you play, it is bold, it is brave, and there's a chance for some of these players, as you said, young players who are very much at the beginning of their careers, and some of these aren't household names yet, in the world of football. This can make them a star, and that stuff does matter to footballers. And the Etihad has become one of the most famous stadiums in world football because City have won so many titles there in Guardiola. And this is going to be... It's such a changed team for Burnley as well, isn't it? It's such a changed team in general. It's not the Burnley of the last time we were in the Premier League. Yeah. So for a lot of these players, it's the first time going there. So as a Burnley fan, I understand, apprehensiveness, and it probably will end up in Burnley going out tomorrow. I'm not trying to be disrespectful there. It's just a likely result. But it isn't a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, probability.
It's just not a foregone conclusion because all it takes is, Burnley to have a fantastic game. All the passes connect. City, just whatever reason, they're a little bit tired. They haven't turned up, and strange things have happened in football. You get a couple of goals randomly, and City hit the crossbar 4 times, and it ends up 2-1, and you win. That can happen in football, and City the other day against Forest, for example, and you could probably beat Forest every now and then in a head-to-head. We played Forest and we were winning 1-0, and we missed about 1 billion chances, and they scored their first shot. 23 shots we had, and they scored with their 1 shot on target, and it ended up 1-1. And in the FA Cup,
I think you've only lost once at home this year, and that was strangely to Brentford of all teams.
Exactly, and it can happen, and I think City's form has got a little bit better. It has done since then, but we are not a perfect side at the moment, and there is the odd hiccup on the road. So, as much as I do think the form has changed, it is getting better. It isn't perfect right now, and I'm expecting a couple of people to come in. Maybe people like Calvin Phillips, who hasn't played much football. He might come in, though we haven't got a game for 2 weeks. It could be the strongest team. Sorry if it is, but there could be the odd change there, which would lead to a little bit of rustiness. So it's not. As Burnley fans, it must be frustrating because you're close to Wembley, but at the same time, it's a really fascinating game of football. It really is, because it's a proper test, man, and it's a test against a team that you want to be tested against. There's not many better judges of where you're going to be next season than this game, I reckon. So yeah. I can't wait for it.
There is that great element that you said that we're playing a team that we want to be. The team, the style play that we want to aspire to, achieve week by week. And
look, we've all watched Rocky films, man. I've been watching the Rocky films and Creed films recently, and every now and then that underdog is more hungry, they can do crazy things, when no one expects anything
and all the narrative and
exactly, yeah, well. Man. It could happen. It could happen. I don't want it to, but it could.
I guess one little bit of hope, is the fact that, as I said, that the team that have gone through the 5-0, it's not the same team. The players haven't suffered the same pain and suffering that we've had in those times. Only Ashley Barnes and Brownhill are really the only players that would probably be playing that's experienced that, really. So I guess that may play a factor that, we got to go into this game and know that everyone expects us to lose anyway. So just be fearless and play with no pressure, and just play your style play what we've played all year as consistent as we have. And try to go for it. Just go for it. Because if you lose 3-0, okay, people expect that anyway. So that's what I'm going into it, hoping that we can see a good performance. If we lose, that's cool. If we lose competitively, that's honestly, I'd be happy with that. If we score, I'd be even happier. In terms of team news for you guys from a City perspective that Burnley fans may not know, of course, people will be terrified of Haaland. Is there actually a chance of him even playing tomorrow?
I'm going to look at I'm just going to double check the team for the last round. We played Bristol. We won that game.
Is there any sort of hope
3-0?
that there could be some players that maybe on the fringes, like you said before, I think like Calvin Phillips or that could maybe come in, that could make you even a slightly little bit weaker to give us some.
I'm looking at the team that we played. The only thing is, of course, there's no games for 2 weeks now, so Pep might just be like, fuck it, lads, you're playing your last game for 2 weeks, you're going to play. But having said that, Julian Alvarez has just signed a new contract. And when he signed a new contract and he's played all the FA Cup games, he's probably going to play. You know, he seems to be our cup striker for these games because a player of his quality, which is mad, he's a World Cup winner, has to play football sometimes. But he's behind Erling Haaland, who's an absolute fucking freak. So Alvarez will play, I reckon, and he could be playing alongside Haaland. He could do because he's done that a couple of times this year. But Alvarez is going to play. I won't be surprised if Haaland's on the bench. Mahrez hasn't played much recently. I'm sorry, so he's definitely going to start. I think Foden might be on the left. Yeah, it's terrible. Why even bother? Why put him on the pitch? Rico Lewis, I think, by the way, probably will get a game of football, and he'll probably... Calvin Phillips played against Bristol, so I wouldn't be surprised if he started there as well. So that's obviously not Rodri. So that's Calvin Phillips has been... He's barely played any football at all. He's probably got like 3 or 4 total minutes, games in total minutes. That's it. It's his City shirt. So he is still in August, in terms of his fitness, which is not really ideal. But we don't really have, like, City squad depth isn't as strong as people think it is these days. So we sort of have to play 2 of De Bruyne, Gundogan, or Bernardo in the middle because the alternative is literally Phillips is playing him in the centre. Probably Cole Palmer, but he's not going to start because his form hasn't been great. So he's probably going to be a senior midfield, really, other than Calvin Phillips. Yeah. And then defenders, we have got...
It's the last game before Wembley as well, so like he's not like it's not as if it's a third round or something. It's
no. And I think once you're in the quarterfinals, any team, even a team of City's quality, take it very seriously, because you're only 2 games away from a trophy and. I don't think there's a single trophy that City should ever not take seriously. One thing I love about Pep is he's always taking the Carabao so seriously. I fucking love it. Like, I genuinely, I've seen City, been watching City for 30 years. Like I like any trophy's great for me. I love it. Because I'm aware it could end tomorrow. So for me, like take every game seriously if you can do, and that's what Pep does do. And I think, by the way, Vinny will do the same because I think he's learned that from him. Winning breeds success. Winning breeds winning, basically. Successful players. Once they get that taste of a trophy, they want more. That's why I think both Guardiola goes relatively strong in competitions, and I think that's why Vinny will do the same as well. But yeah, Alvarez will come in, Rico Lewis will come in, maybe Calvin Phillips, Ortega in for Ederson, though that's probably actually quite a popular move for Man City fans because Ederson's form's been a bit ropey. Greenish will probably get a rest with Mahrez coming in, which is pretty decent to be fair.
Yeah, so like it still sounds insane, but I guess
Laporte's not played much recently, so Emerick Laporte will come in. So it'll be something like that, I reckon.
That's just really.
It's not bad.
If you can seek any hope from that, Burnley fans, then I seek some hope. Somewhere. I can't know specifically. I guess Phillips, but other than that, sure, let's crack on with that one. Jesus, honestly. Right. The thing is, like, there is that element of the fact that there is almost some ego going into this. Of course, Vincent Kompany and Pep, and they know each other so well. And I think Pep will put out a strong team because it is not just a quarterfinal, but it's also against Kompany, which you don't want to lose to your protege almost. And so he's going to want to make sure that he wins this first battle of an upcoming war, maybe in the future. And Kompany will do the same. That's one thing that Burnley fans have loved a lot, that in the past under Sean Dyche, he's never really took the cup really serious at all, played a lot of like second players, and we just never looked arsed up for the cup at all, because it's always been about staying up in Premier League, and that's it. That's the main thing. So we never bothered. But this year in all comps, Carabao, not about Man United, no shame in that. First time in a quarterfinal of a FA Cup since 2003. We're looking forward to it. That's why we're so kind of gutted when we faced you guys, especially if we faced you at home at Turf Moor. I would actually be it'd be a different story for me personally. I think that could be something that we can do, a bit of spice to it that could be more in our favour, but the fact that it's just a bit of a...
I'm looking at the draw, by the way. It was so unlucky because you could have got Brighton, Grimsby, Sheffield United, Blackburn Rovers, or Fulham. And United, of course, there as well, but Sheffield United, Blackburn... That was it. I mean, you would probably Brighton would have been difficult for you, but Grimsby, Sheffield United, Blackburn, and then Fulham to fair as well. So there was like tiered, wasn't there? There was City United, or City top United, but then there was like the next tier where it's difficult, like Fulham, Brighton. But after that, then you would have beat Grimsby or Sheffield United or Blackburn. So like that's such an unlucky draw that. Genuinely
that's
gutted
why
for
it's
him.
a bit gutting. But I think now that the dust has settled, now it's game day. I think Burnley fans are quietly getting more and more confident that something may happen. The FA Cup and the giant killers, and people start dreaming.
Well, do you know what? If you want to achieve greatness as a team, these games like this are important. And I think Kompany doesn't settle for mediocrity, man. He's the guy who strives for greatness, and these are the tests that he wants. And so I think it's going to be huge for Burnley.
Yeah, and again, it'd be great, no matter what happens, to see whatever weaknesses that we may have, and whatever happens tomorrow, we're going to learn from it. And I think that it will give us a lot of great insight into what we can do for next year. If we win, fantastic. Somehow, if we win, it teaches us a lot about our team and what we can do next year. If we lose, respectfully, then we can kick on from that as well and know what to do next time, where to improve in the summer. So let's round off this preview into just kind of how you think the game will go down. For me personally, I got some weird feeling that we may actually score first. I think like 1-0 for Burnley. The narrative will be going over on Twitter, and I can see it already now. And then I think in the end, you'll just kind of sub on Haaland and KDB probably, and I think quality was showing. The cream will rise to the top, and it'd be probably like a 3-1 or something. That's kind of just what I can imagine. I think we could get some sort of dream going on. Nathan Tella in fantastic form, and we're going to be going in. I think that'd be a great game of football, but I think your quality would just shows in the end.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's going to be something similar to that as well. I think you probably will score. I think it's just, you almost certainly will. You'll play with an energy and fearlessness that I think you'll probably score with your first shot on target, which a lot of teams tend to do against City. I don't know if that'll be 1-1 or 1-0, but I do think for a long time the game will feel relatively close until just experience and maybe a little bit of fitness, because City obviously, as well as being a world-class side, the world-class athletes are incredibly fit as well. So there's there'll be a strength and energy to Manchester City that comes from the demands that they have to play against every single week. So I think our general experience, quality, and probably a little bit of superior fitness as well will probably play into our hands. And as the game starts to run down, and I reckon a 3-1's probably relatively fair. It'll be 2-1 for a bit, and it's the kind of game where De Bruyne will just score a goal late on. 20 yards out, we put it in the bottom corner, and he'll stand there.
Yeah, just banks a free kick or something.
He's Kevin De Bruyne. He'll stand there with his arms out because that's what he does. Kevin De Bruyne has this incredible habit of just doing some stupid near the end of the game, just to be like, I'm the man, by the way, and he is the man. So I can see something like that, but I don't think it's going to be embarrassing for Burnley. I think it could be a lot closer than City fans feel that way, by the way. I think a lot of City fans feel like it's going to be an interesting game because of Vincent Kompany and because Burnley are a good side.
Yeah. And I hope it is well, and I think it should go down that route. That I think it'd be a great game of football, and if we do lose, I do think it'd be respectable. And the more it goes to kickoff, the more I have more and more hope for some stupid reason. But that's what football does to you, it seems.
What's the point otherwise, man? What's the point?
Exactly. So I guess one random kind of question for you, as I guess City fan and Vincent Kompany, is Vincent Kompany, where would you rank him in terms of the best defenders in Premier League history?
He's literally right up there. The only ones that would definitely. The thing is, he's got the trophies as well. That's the thing. He's got the Premier League titles, and people act like he's just won one. He's won multiple, And to me, he is. I think John Terry is probably the best Premier League centre back of all time. I think, and I hate the man. I can't stand John Terry. I think he's a knobhead, but I think he's an incredible footballer. So I can't deny his legacy, and longevity. I think Vincent Kompany is better than Van Dijk. I think he had 2 great years, and I think largely he won't have the legacy. I think Van Dijk burned very bright very quickly. I think he burned very bright, incredibly bright, but very quickly. And I think he's been like that. But I think that like that, and the rest of his career will. I don't think Liverpool will reach the levels he did.
Injuries, of course, I don't think helped Van Dijk. But
no, they didn't. But Vincent Kompany was injured an awful lot as well, by the way. So and he came back a lot from injuries, So, but I think in general, as a strength of personality, Vincent Kompany's twice the man. And that's not because Van Dijk isn't a great leader, but I think Vincent Kompany's a freakish leader. I think he is. To me, then these people I would rather have Kompany than Vidic. Ferdinand's up there. Can't argue that. I would rather have Kompany than Sol Campbell. I would rather have Kompany than someone like a Tony Adams. But there's a different era of that, to be fair to him. I can't really think of the others, but to me, he's up there in the top few. He is. And obviously, everyone depends who you support. But I saw Vincent Kompany score winning goals against United, 1-0, as we were going for our first title. I saw him score the Leicester goal when he pinged in the top corner to put us back on the title race. And I've seen him sieve down Salah because it mattered, and he probably should have got a red card, but it didn't matter because he knew he'd get away with it, but he had to do it because he had to. Sometimes people like Vincent Kompany know what they have to do because they are warriors, and I've seen him, be the biggest baddest fucker on the pitch, and 22 when there's 22 of them there, you know, and like that matters. You need a guy who's an absolute warrior, but a leader and a battler, but has that quality to step up when it matters, and that's why he's got a statue. Not because he's a great centre back, because he's an absolute great leader and a great defender. And a great man. So I love him. I love him dearly, and I think you guys are starting to see why we love him so much. The only thing that's a shame is that you never got to witness him on the pitch as a Burnley player, you know, as a player coach, some of that, because the commitment to his game is just. He's probably still really good now, by the way. He probably is. He's one of those guys who'll be in perfect condition when he's 50, you know, and be a great footballer still. Yeah. Absolutely. But he's an all-time Premier League great, and I'm not just trying to say this because we're City, but a lot of City legends aren't really massively appreciated, because I know we're not a heritage club, and I know we are new money and all that kind of stuff, and I'm aware of that, but we haven't got the fan base of United, Liverpool, and whatever. So I don't think City players are often treated with the respect that they deserve, and I genuinely believe that. I'm not just saying that because I think it's a pity thing for City, but I don't. If Vincent Kompany played for Man United or Liverpool, there'd be no doubt that, you know, he's, if not the greatest, one of the greatest. I think people only question it about Vincent Kompany because he played for City, so I think he's a fucking phenomenal footballer, so I love him. What a man! What
a tear to my eye, man! Jesus.
Honest, I genuinely love him. He's done. The thing about him as well, he was there before the money.
Comparison of if he played for United, maybe people seem.
It's just genuinely true. It's true. It is true, and I think that's because of you. And I'm not saying it because there's a bias, but if I was a journalist and I wrote an article about Man United and it got 200,000 page views, and I wrote one about Man City and it got 20,000 page views, I know I'd be writing articles about. You know. I'd be writing him about Man United, and that's just, it's the very nature of it. I run a Man City fan channel, you know. I'm very much aware that our fan base is, you know, growing, and it hasn't got billions of fans in Scandinavia. You know, we haven't got that, and like I don't care because I'm a City fan from Manchester. You know, like if it was just me at the Etihad, I wouldn't care less because I'm there to watch football, not to be with other people. If that makes sense. So I don't care that we haven't got the world's biggest fan base. We've got a big fan base, but it's not insane. But I do understand that, you know, United and Liverpool and people like that, they have a bigger fan base. So naturally, their players are, as Twitter would say, they're better PR. You know, like they do, and it's why you see at one point Jesse Lingard compared to Kevin De Bruyne, which was insane then. You know, and like, but stuff like that happens all the time. You see it happens all the time because, you know, if a United player has a good season, he's a world class player.
Bruno Fernandes is also like linked with KDB. Oh, he was.
He's a great player, but he's not. Ultimately, Bruno Fernandes will go down as one of. Yeah, he'll go down as one of many good Man United players, but he won't go down a Premier League legend like like Kevin De Bruyne will do, you know. But people will still pretend he is, you know. But Bruno Fernandes is not and never will be a Premier League legend. He's just going to be a very good United player, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, levels.
I think that's accurate. I do like to, from my own personal experience with City fans, I do like to think that, you know, in comparison to other top six fans, they're a lot more sort of humble of their beginnings and kind of they're much more grounded from what I find.
I wouldn't change it, mate. I wouldn't change anything about it. I'm 37 years old, so I started watching City. My first game was in 1994, and we had Brian Houghton and we had King Clancy. A couple of years later, we had even Rosler, you know, Niall Quinn, people like that. I loved it, and I cried when we got relegated. But it makes you who you are, you know, and like going up and down and expecting nothing, and seeing you finally get a superstar King Clancy. You sell him to Ajax when you get relegated to the Division 1, you know, and then you fall in love with Sean Phillips and you sell him to Chelsea to save the club because we're skint, you know, and like it's horrific. I hated it,
it's good though that way because it creates you as almost like a self-policing fan base, because I see last night I was like City fan almost like, you know, talking a bit of nonsense. My camera just died quickly. Perfect timing. So that makes sense, to be fair. Just give me 1 second. Thankfully we're recording and not live.
It's all good.
My tripod's like falling apart, so it's going to be a different position, but should be okay.
No, it's all good.
But as I was saying, like, I've noticed that with City, it's a very self-policing fan base. That there was like one City fan last night talking down to Championship fans, and I saw and so many City fans are saying like he's a dick. Okay, like shut up, dick. And I love that because actual City fans like yourself, you've been there in Championship, you've gone through that because that's the beginnings of City. So I like that. Unlike other top six clubs who's never experienced that, you have. So when you see
It won't
these
happen
kind of
forever
new modern era
because
social media warlords, foot FT accounts that at second top sits massive fan base, or not massive fan base, but just basically just be a knob. Like your own fan base, like we're not like that. Like we shouldn't be like that. And I like that.
I'm in that
about
weird middle
your
ground
fan
of
base.
like not being one of the old bastards who were there watching the 70s, 60s, but I'm young enough to understand modern media, like and do YouTube shit and stuff like that. But I'm definitely old compared to the 17-year-olds who've only ever known City as good and stuff like that. But I'm sort of in between where like they were. I don't know cities in the 70s and 80s. I wasn't born, but I've sort of in that middle ground. I'm probably the last of that where a lot of you see City fans going up now, and of course they're going to be like United fans in the 90s because City are one of the best teams in the world. So of course they're going to grow up being a little bit arrogant and expecting perfection. It's because why wouldn't they? That's all they know. And like it's crazy. I think Phil Foden doesn't know anything other than Man City being great. Phil Foden, and he's a City player. Like he was a ball boy and whatever. I think he was about 8 years old when City won the league. So it's crazy. Like it feels like yesterday, but it's been 15 years since City were taken over. Like it's a long time now. Like there's Premier League footballers now who are like the Arsenal lad who played at 15 years old. That's when City were taking over. Like it's crazy. So like I think in general, it's inevitable that
in 2012 for the QPR game, I remember I was like in like a Modern Warfare 2 lobby. I would have been like, how old would I have been then? Like 13. And I remember going down to my friend was on the call and it was like 2-2. And it's like, oh, it's 2-2. Watch the game. I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, you guys turned down. So I thought, oh, game's over. It was like the 80th. When did Dzeko score? Like the 90 what minute? 91st?
Dzeko scored in about the I think 89th or something like that.
Was it 89th?
And then it was Aguero was in the 93rd minute. 93rd,
yeah, so I stopped watching. So I was like, okay, well it's done over with now. And they told me to go watch it. So I went downstairs. It was just me alone in the house. And when Aguero scored, I remember celebrating. And I have no reason to. I'm a Burnley fan, right? I've got no affiliation with City or United, but I think because it was like a new team and it wasn't United. And because United was just their team for when I was growing up, I celebrated for some reason City winning the Premier League because it was like just they were like an underdog story despite the money and how they were for whatever else. For me, as a young kid, I want to see someone else enjoy something. To round it off, let us win tomorrow so we can have that moment. So I gave you your respect back in 2012. Now it's your turn, my friend, to give us our day out of Wembley.
Look, if you beat us tomorrow, I will obviously be annoyed, but I will be happy for Vincent Kompany. So, at the same time, I wouldn't begrudge Vinny having that. If Vinny, look, the wonderful silver lining of that, if City lose tomorrow, I get to see Vincent Kompany at Wembley. So, as a manager, so that's the only team I'd probably not mind losing to in the FA Cup this year. Probably be Burnley for that reason. So that's as much as I'll give you, really. That's still be good.
One tomorrow, sorted, perfect. Absolute pleasure, man. We've talked at length on both sides here, which just shows how much respect we both have for Vincent Kompany. I think this says a lot about
fucking legend.
The man that he is. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Of course, thank you for your time. I know that you do some great stuff, and I, as a City fan, that I see your stuff a lot. I have a lot of respect for you. And because I like people that represent their fan base well and not just kind of use it for clicks and just almost embarrasses their own fan base. And I've seen you for a long time, and you are what a fan channel should be. So
thank you. That's very kind of you.
I want to say that to you personally.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I just like talking about football. I know that sounds like a crazy thing these days, but I just like making videos of talking football. I could play the game if I wanted to, and could do we could do the whole like. I could be like Pep out after we lose, but I don't think that. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to just farm clicks for the sake of it. I've got a kid coming now. I want him to see his dad's a man of integrity. So that matters to me. And I can't love Vincent Kompany and also I talk about integrity. And honesty. Like if Vincent Kompany is my hero, which he is, he'd be respectful, wouldn't he? So that's all that matters to me. Like just enjoy it because football's good fun.
That's what it's all about. Where can the great people of Burnley find you?
It's a Steve Kompany, okay. It's sort of kind of Vincent Kompany doing well at Burnley sort of ruined my channel name. To be honest, it's so inherently linked. It was a pun years ago, but Esteemed Company with a K, and it's my Man City fan channel over there, so you can find me there if you want to, and also on Twitter, Stephen McInerney. So, of
course, and there'll be a link down below in the description too. So. Absolute pleasure. I guess I wish you luck, but I don't tomorrow, of course, and you'll think likewise. It'd be a great game of football tomorrow, and I think that'd be really good to see. I guess the new era of Burnley and to see how we can go up against the very best. So
Absolutely, man.
I wish you the best, Stephen. Of course, thank you for listening so far. It's been 40 minutes. So if you're here to the end, you're an absolute hero. So of course, feel free and like and subscribe to the Alongside channel. And I'll see you for the review when we beat them 5-0. See you later.